UAP stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. It's being used as a replacement term for UFO because of the stigma behind that word, in part created by the CIA, I believe, in the 50s and 60s, but don't quote me on that because I can't actually find anything for it. But in some of my head, I believe that is the case, that they were involved in creating a stigma behind it to make it a career killer if talked about in a professional climate, but also socially unacceptable because you'll be seen like as a nut job or crazy person speaking about UFOs. But they're using the word UAP now because they want to talk about it. Why? Well, let's go into it. You can trace strange crafts and beings back into ancient times and everything, but we're not going to go there because that is just stories and shit we hear. Let's go about what is actually documented and what we actually know. So essentially, you can trace this all back, and it really starts about the 1950s after World War II with the UFO mania, mainly in America, but it was everywhere else. Essentially, everyone's reporting all these weird crafts and all these strange encounters in the sky. Now, externally, the Air Force was like, nah, 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 nah. But internally, they were freaking the fuck out. They had absolutely no idea what was going on. They launched multiple projects to try and figure out what actually was going on. It is important to know this was during the Red Menace, so they were a little bit concerned with things going on in the sky more than usual, so obviously it being the Cold War made it a bit worse. But they launched Project Grudge, Project Sign, Project Blue Book. Project Grudge, interestingly, actually said that it was the most likely explanation was aliens and extraterrestrials, which the Pentagon rejected, but they still said it. The actual successor program was called Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was headed by a man named Edward J. Ruppelt. It's how we know quite a lot about this because he wrote a lot of things about it in a book called Project Blue Book, which is about Project Blue Book. 4 years after he wrote that, he was dead at the really old age of 37 due to a heart attack. Make of that what you will. The project had all kinds of reports of UFOs from government level and civilian level, and basically was to try and document, categorize, and explain each individual case. Now, they had lots of different explanations: balloon, aircraft, helicopter, and loads of other really cool things. But the interesting one are the anomalies, because there is a classification called unknown. Now, it's paramount you understand there is a class different to that called not enough data. So unknown isn't we haven't got enough information to figure out what it is. Unknown is we have everything we could need to know about this. We don't know what that is. That is unknown. And these became the unknowns of Project Blue Book. I really recommend you watch a video by Lemino on these. He goes through Project Blue Book in a bit more detail and also goes into some of the cases. So I recommend giving that a watch. I'll link it in the description as well. In Edward's book, Project Blue Book, about Project Blue Book, he talks about how roughly halfway through there was a change in attitudes towards it. What was once a case of trying to explain became a case of downplay and weasel a natural explanation. And in his own words, I believe it was, whatever you see or hear, don't believe it. It was after this that nothing really happened for over 50 fucking years, to my knowledge. Nothing really official. There was still loads of stories of stuff coming out, and the main one being Bob Lazar. We'll get into him later on. But nothing official happened. It was kind of a dead zone. There wasn't really anything going on because it was sort of buried underground. You couldn't really talk about publicly or professionally because, again, you'd be still like a nut job and you'd lose out on your career. So everything kind of stopped for over 50 fucking years. I implore you watch the podcast between Bob Lazar and Joe Rogan because it's fucking fantastic. He goes through his entire story start to finish and explains everything. I mean, he has so much ground to stand on. He's talking about moscovium before it was synthesized. He mentions a device that can measure the bone length in your finger to work as like a B-Tech fingerprint scanner before they were a thing. That was not the case at the time. Now it is. We know they existed. Give it a watch. It's fantastic. It was a dead topic for over 50 years. Nothing really happened on it until 2017, when I believe to the New York Times, they made an article about a UAP task force to try and identify unidentified aerial phenomena, as well as a video, a live captured footage of UAP, which in 2020, the government of the Americas, came out and officially declassified it and said it is genuine footage of real Air Force fighters encountering unidentified aerial phenomena. That was the big shabam. That was the entire reason I started looking into this, because when the actual government comes out and says, you see that video, we have absolutely no idea what that is, saying unidentified aerial phenomena, that's when I got interested to look into it a bit more. And the story behind that footage that you're watching now is fucking insane. The story is not official, but it is the story of those that were involved with that footage, which is confirmed to be real. So at a certain point, you have to sort of mesh things together and think, well, why would they be lying? From here, things have only become more open because people can now feel more comfortable to talk about this in a professional and social climate. You have Luiz Elizondo and David Grutch both coming out and saying the US government has intact crafts of extraterrestrial species in their inventory. We have congressional hearings over in America talking about these UAPs and showing all these footage of things. They're not exactly exciting footage, but it's the fact that what you're seeing is an actual UAP, which is classified as that. We don't know what that is. That is... no idea what it is. It doesn't matter, there's a little fucking dot that just flies across the screen. They still don't know what that is. And it's not any natural phenomena, it is unidentified aerial phenomena. I mean, we even have other documents, things that talk about, like, and I quote, where is it? UAP preliminary assessments and reports being handed out to the public which outright fucking state that these UAP exhibit exotic movement and instantaneous acceleration absent apparent inertia and include what were previously described as flying saucers and flying discs. What? This is a big fucking problem because the technology being displayed here is so absolutely balls to all the walls bonkers, it would be the same as Superman coming down. We can't stop that. Fucking instantaneous acceleration, absent apparent inertia. That is fucking mental. That is actually a thing being talked about and objects that are displaying that kind of capability. I'm not trying to fearmonger or scare anyone, but we need answers on this yesterday. We need to know what these things are and what's going on. I recommend looking into some documentaries about this and joining the Are UFOs subreddit. A lot of stuff on there is garbage, but when there is something going down, you will know it from there. You just gotta follow it and just sort of ignore a lot of the shit, but when something big happens, it will be on there. At the time of this video recording, there's drones all over Denmark. So, yeah, they might be drones, but why are they all radioactive? So, it's important to keep up on this update and see what's going on. There's definitely something here. Something very fucking bad, possibly. I mean, they're literally the best case scenario for this is it's aliens that are wanting to not involve us too much because they don't want to fuck with our natural cycle. But even then, that's still a bit fucking bad because who the fuck are they? We need answers on this, whether it's just foreign technology, actual alien civilizations, ancient civilizations of Earth, or extra-dimensional beings. We need answers.
Meow. Meow.